Шановне товариство, тут ми не будемо втомлюватися вітатися з вами. Дуже приємно, що після
Dear partners, it's very glad to see that we are still in the same number as before the dinner, the lunch break. So we're seeing everybody who's already been able to get here. Have a seat, make yourself comfortable, and remind you that will not take much of your time right now. We're going into dialogues. Questions will be going after the end, but we're going into the final phase, which is called Ukraine Rebuilt, the International Experience and Partnership. I'd like to introduce our speakers and reminding you of headphones if you need them. Keep them by your side. It is with great pleasure that I'd like to recommend our speakers. Natalia Uresco, head of UI Parthenon. Here's our friends, our partners must understand that we're Ukrainians. If we cannot see you, even through online, we still commend you. Our next speaker, who will be online, is Petro Jelak, Vice President of Gdansk City. Applause is to him as well.
Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. Thank you for the invitation.
Я вам дуже дякую. В школі я вивчав німецьку, але
I taught German. I taught German in school. I studied German in school, but I'm still glad to see you. And I'd like to invite to the microphone, Ms. Olena Yulkova, head of the Ukrainian School of Management. And our moderator is ex-female leader of management school, etc. and so forth, Maria Chumok, the moderator of the panel. I thank everyone here, Ms. Natalia, Mr. Petro, Ms. Olena. It is a great honor to be talking with you today. We know that the third, for somebody it's already the 11th year of war, is not easy. It is very hard to see what Ukrainians are psychologically. We know about indomitability and perseverance, but we are still apprehensive as to the future. And our view of the future, the support of international partners, is very important for the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine, to be not only of the infrastructure of the territory, but of the people who are still staying inside Ukraine and who will be the future of Ukraine. In your opinion, on your side, and in your experience with your projects, what are the main priorities right now that you can see as important even during the war? Miss Natalia, you go first, please. Hello to everyone. When I say that we need to have renovation right now, I'd like to say that a lot of international partners cannot understand what it is like right now. We have to be very direct and specific in what exactly we need. The first priority that we need is residential facilities instead of the ones that have been destroyed or damaged. Because we do not want people to be homeless, we have to have them to be brought back because they had to leave their homes. Second thing is critical infrastructure, electricity, heating, and water. This is necessary for people to be able to live. Third, schools and under school shelters so children can study safely. I think this is going to be important with the creation of workspaces. So people can be living in Ukraine and be coming home. They have to know where they have a place to live, they have a place to work, they have a place for their children to be going to school, and they have all necessary life support. A lot of other people, a lot of cities are still preparing for this, are specializing, focusing in this. Some are still thinking about grand plans still being in the future. I would advise with international partners that prioritization is very important, that they understand that city heads and community leaders know and understand what your people need. Thank you for this advice. I see it is my hope that a lot of community leaders are looking and listening to this forum. And I would concur that most international partners do demand this specific data. Mr. Petro, you can see your opinion is from the side of a partner country. What is, in your opinion, a priority that you can advise Ukraine to have to be moving forward into?
Hello, Dobrocho, everybody. Thank you once again for the invitation. Answering this question, I would answer that you have the answers. I mean, we are the partners, the city of Gdańsk, of Mariupol, within the project Mariupol Reborn. And we look at your project as we look at this project as a partner, as one of the best examples how we should work on preparing to the new investments. But actually, the most important investment is our social psychology. I am Mariupol. This is one of the projects that you can be very proud of, because right now the municipality authorities work on the society, preparing and consulting what will be the next vision of the city. And this is very important factor among the European Union countries. The participation, the discussion with our societies, this is one of the key goals which is set up by the European Union. We strongly believe that this is not a long time that we are going to be together within the European Union. And right now we have to start pre-accession projects, which are preparing us for the cooperation and which can prepare us for the further accession of the Ukraine. So the participation is the first stage. The second stage is changing our mentality that we can do, like Barack Obama said, yes, we can. This is the most important, that we can do the biggest, we can fulfill together the biggest challenges together, and we can do it professionally. At the beginning of Polish accession to the European Union, we're looking at the Western countries, thinking that we are not going to manage with this project, that they were so professional, they were so strict on their project. Right now, Polish European Union projects are even better sometimes proceed than some of the Western projects. So for us, the most important is social psychology, believing in the goal, and fulfilling this way. Thank you.
Thank you for your optimism.
Miss Elena? I don't know what it's going to sound like right now, but I'm absolutely adamant that this is not what we need to start with. Probably some of you, most of you heard of the Maslow pyramid, that we have low that we have low things at the bottom and higher at the top. Maslow himself claimed that his pyramid was not understood in the right way. There is no priority to needs and demands. This was a very simplified way to explain, because when a person does not have basic needs, it's hard to talk about something else. But Maslow claimed that his pyramid needs to be reversed. And the first question is, why? Why do we need to do this? What is Ukraine's place in the world? What is going to change in the world if Ukraine does not exist? This is the question that we need answer. This is the question that we ask communities. What is going to happen to Ukraine if your community does not participate in it? Why do you exist? And we help communities find their new identity. We're going through a hyper important new stage, and it depends on how we pass it, whether we return to the beginning and what we're going to proceed to, whether we'll be able to find our new identity and the answer to this question, why? My best friend was captured in 2022. We were looking for him for a while, and we got him back. The easiest thing that happened to him, he had his fingers chopped off. How do we react to this? We don't know. But I asked him, how do we react to this? What do we need? What do we get when we have nothing? And he said, when this was going on, I found the answer to the question, why? Wasn't until when it was the answer to the question, why? Why is all of this being done? So I think it is very important for us as communities, as a country, as a nation, to find the answer why we're doing this. Thank you, Ms. Elena. I think, in my opinion, all of us defending the country and both on the front and in the rear, but they're still Ukrainian. They're still talking about the future of the country. This is a principal position. The only thing is, it's very important, and Ms. Natalia talked about this. International partners have to be known how we want to see this country. And this is definitely about the right priorities, because we cannot right now build sandcastles, understanding that they will not come to fruition. We have to be realistic. We have to know that reconstruction will be probably due to international help. Currently, due to statistics, we have about 7 million Ukrainians being displaced outside of Ukraine. According to latest statistics, for the 8 past months, we have about minus 400,000 more. This is concerning numbers. We understand that most of them have moved out to the European Union, and we have chosen to reintegrate with the European Union ourselves. Do you not think that we have to adhere to all of the European standards to be part of it, but that we will have great competition, and we have to show this in the future of our country? because this is sad statistics that not more than 10% will return. No, according to the studies that we have right now, won't know until they do, but what do we do if on one side we choose the European integration vector? We're gonna be fighting to be competitive. And how do we do this if a lot of Ukrainians are already integrated into European countries? How do you see this? And it's very important to see your international perspective on this. Mr. Petro, Miss Natalia, whoever wants to take this.
I can tell you about the diaspora of Ukrainian people in the city of Gdańsk. Actually, we have strong connections. I had some friends from Kherson. They were living my home for a few months, and right now we have a strong relation together. And they still miss. Of course, they cannot come back to Kherson with young children because still we know that this is the front of the war. And I know that still I have a friend, deputy mayor of Kherson. I know that we were there last year, so I know the situation. Still, this is the quite unstable situation. So the coming back for now, it is very difficult. But on the other hand, I know that they miss their city, they miss Ukraine, and I'm sure that they will get some experience in our countries. And some of them will come back and rebuild. And they say this is the important factor of their patriotism to the Ukraine, that they have to learn now. They have to take the experience and come back to the cities to rebuild them. Of course, we don't know how many people will decide, like my friend Dasha. But I strongly believe that we can do these projects together with the experience they get right now working here in our cities. But on the other hand, I will tell you about our experience with joining European Union at the beginning. From Poland, there were hundreds of thousands of people going to UK. At that time, UK was the European Union member. Some of them came back. Some of them sent the money back. But of course, it was the challenge that the young class went to the islands. But I think it made us more professional, and some of them brought back the experience which they got on the island. So I wouldn't be scared about the situation. Of course, we have to build the long-term programs to build the identity. And once again, I will come back to I am Mariupol. Mr. Boychenko builds connections with his society, with the society of the Mariupol, and this is the best way to do it. I mean, working together on social things, on education, on some everyday projects to make the connection with the people to come back after the Russians will get out of the Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pani Natalia.
Ms. Natalia, I will add that I'm a kind of an idealist. We need to build in Ukraine an environment that people will want to get back to. And the sooner we build it, the more people will come back. So we have to build a specific, capable, European-like free society where people will feel no worse than somewhere in Poland, in Germany, or in the UK. I suppose here we have to take advantage of the time that we still have on our hands when people are still abroad and overseas, so that we support them, keep in touch with them, and so that our European and transatlantic partners help them unite these businesses to create jobs in Ukraine so that the people are very well equipped to come and take these jobs in Ukraine. It's necessary for our Ukrainian government to link us with the identity of those people and maintain this identity. And for that, we need to disseminate and spread the idea of the Ukrainian school, which is right now being provided online abroad. And it's necessary for our ambassadors and consuls to work rigorously with the Ukrainian citizens who are based in the other countries, for them to feel that Ukraine really cares about them and will take care of them in the future. And lastly, everyone who has fled from Ukraine still keeps this question in their mind ringing. How firmly can one claim that they can come back and will not be the second sort of people? How much this Ukrainian society, which has been here all the time in Ukraine during this full-scale invasion, will still embrace them as the full-fledged, adequate citizens of Ukraine? And that is will also require a lot of work. Some kind of reintegration, right, will be necessary for the Ukrainian diaspora of the Ukrainians who are right now temporarily based abroad to come back here to Ukraine. Thank you, Madam Natalia. Something else that has recently very well impressed me, it's a very fine case, when establishing in Munich authentic Ukrainian school with the funds donated by the mayor of Munich, and children aged 14 and older now are gaining even higher quality knowledge and skills than it was supposed to be provided to them according to the adaptation program. And the mayor have fully supported and has said that you need to broaden the pupil base, and you are coping with the situation much better than us. And the children who go to that school are being funded with the budget from the German community, but the faculty, the teaching staff are all Ukrainian, and they adapt to German language requirements in terms of the skills. So this can also be taken as a very good reference point for other cities and towns to embrace this experience, particularly in the places where we have big accumulations of Ukrainian people. So this school definitely serves as a role model for people who would like perhaps even to aspire to higher education, and the ones who are interested in getting higher Ukrainian education. Statistics, of course, are pretty sad in terms of how many people are willing to come back to Ukraine, but you are definitely right. We need to provide for these circumstances Ukrainians to be willing to come back. Yes, let me also add, it's an opportunity to do that within any organization. Like I'm chair of Aspen Association, and we organize online for Ukrainians who are based abroad, different kinds of training programs that would connect them. They have questions and issues which are important for the Europeans and for those who come from Ukraine. So we definitely need to activate this sphere of work, particularly with the young people. Now, this Thomas that has been provided to the Ukrainian Orthodox Church still does not provide for the opportunity for the Orthodox Ukrainians to set up their own churches. So Ukrainians abroad have nowhere to go except to Orthodox churches of Moscow Patriarchy. So we definitely need to be able to set up our own patriarchy churches, because this will also build additional bridges between the people who are Orthodox and found right now in Europe. So we definitely need to set up our religious, cultural hubs and ensure for powerful public diplomacy, something that will enable us not to lose our identity and feel dignified when being based in other countries. Yes. Now, Ms. Olena, please. Yes, this time I'm very much in support of what has been said. I'm in charge of the Ukrainian School of Management. I'm also a partner for the School of Community Reconstruction. And we will be working with them right at the very beginning, all the way to before this program is taken over by Kiev Mohila Academy. So this program is open for public sector, for business, for the military, and for the civil sector. And we will be working from both ends. On the one hand, in order to engage the best world practices in management, and on the other hand, also to help our managers, chiefs, and heads of administration, military personnel to identify themselves as Ukrainians. What it is that we stand on, where our roots are, what we lean on. That's why we will be combining managerial modules with the history of Ukraine, leadership, philosophy, Ukrainian art and music. We will be providing all of this because people simply do not understand what our strength is in. So when we understand where we belong and we are proud of that, but not feel undignified, when we feel that we definitely deserve it, it's something that you really want to belong to and go back to. And one more brief point to make. In 2022, I was also participating in an online conference for managers. There were more than 300 people. I was an only Ukrainian. I emerged there online, and they were all with rigid faces on the one hand, on the other hand, because they knew that I was coming from the country in war. And I, who haven't been escaping that country, but being based in Ukraine, on the other hand, I said, yes, it's a huge price that we have to pay. It's painful, it's horrid, but it is right now in Ukraine that this transformation and revival is taking place, and it's a great privilege to be involved in that. And you can just imagine how many donations I raised as a result of that conference. Never before or after have I been able to raise so many donations. So see, people always want to be side by side with someone who's strong. So you see, we are strong, and that's something that we need to be aware of. Others always gravitate to this strength. The new ones come to that, and we can afford it. Thank you. Definitely not lack strength. And God bless us for the strength and sinews and endurance to keep going, because it's just the beginning of our complicated road to cover. We have been speaking a lot about the human capital, especially the shortage of that, structural shortages that we are faced with. Thanks to our international partners, now we are witnessing that there are a lot of programs in terms of retraining, upscaling, understanding the role of gender in different occupations, and reintegration of veterans. There are different assessments that we can go by, and even if we try to project the economic recovery and growth according to the estimates of Easy Business Agency, the annual growth, when I speak about the annual growth, even at 7%, it says that in a couple of years we will have more than 4.5 million people, full-abled people shortage. So this is a significant gap that we are not only faced with right now, but it will be growing substantially. So we have been speaking about how to get the Ukrainians back. We have to struggle over all of these issues, and we need to make sure that these are the people with qualitative skills and experience that will come back to Ukraine. My question is, do you feel that it's necessary to involve foreigners and to propagate, maybe even aggressively, via businesses abroad, for example? Businesses begin to say that among the working personnel, unfortunately, the level of personnel is very low. So what is your idea concerning such a migration policy? Do we have to undertake some emergency policies, develop different migration policies, simplify, streamline them, for example, and maybe even launch the first pilot projects, not just like the ones that businesses sometimes launch independently? So what is your idea? What are your views and thoughts concerning that? What kind of people can we attract from abroad to come to Ukraine in order to cover this human capital gap? Will those be different roles? What kind of competition difficulties do you think will arise? This complicated issue of diversity, although the whole world is getting globalized, and this is the driving force, which is inevitably a challenge not only for Ukraine, for the country that is suffering from the substantial shortage. So, Ms. Natalia, I would like to start with you. Thank you. It's a highly demanding question. It seems to me that we need to focus our attention on bringing Ukrainians back. And until we have the proper programs, until we can claim that we have a proper place for them here, it's hard for me to say that we need a particular migration policy and be supported by other foreign programs in this respect. If pilot programs are launched and if labor force needs to be attracted from abroad, well, maybe. But I perhaps would be guided by some of the policies in this respect from Australia, some of the business programs they have in this regard. And I would think hard about how to establish such a program, set up such a program, and make sure that the people that would come to Ukraine would definitely become Ukrainians. I mean, that they would have to speak Ukrainian, they would have to understand our history and take an exam, just like it happens in the United States. They would need to be absolutely aware of where they would be coming, not just to come and earn money, but to become an integral part of the society. But I suppose this needs to be done at a later point. Right now, all of the attention needs to be focused on bringing Ukrainians back to Ukraine. Thank you very much. Mr. Petro, can you give us your thoughts concerning this complicated issue? What do you have to say?
This is a very complicated issue, and actually there is no an easy answer, because this is, of course, for Ukraine, there is the huge challenge for bringing the workforce back. But we have to say that in the whole Europe, we have the lack of workforce. For example, there was a few weeks or few months decision of Olaf Scholz in Germany of bringing 300,000 people from Kenya. Inviting them to Germany. So for sure, this will be a big challenge, not only for Ukraine but for whole Europe, and the discussion how to manage with this problem. We have to think how can we safely open for the different countries from abroad, not only from our part, from our continent, if we want to develop. And Ukraine will have a strong hunger for development after during the development phase. I think that we will cooperate together within the European Union how to build the common policy for that. I think that there will be a strong investment in the investment funds in Ukraine. So you will have some magnetic function. This money will have some magnetic function also for the workforce. If there will be a projects, there will be people coming to work on it to as well earn some money. But there is no easy answer, not only for Ukraine, I think for whole Europe, but of course Ukraine is in this specific situation.
Дякую.
Thank you, Mr. Petro. Now, Ms. Olena, please. Many vivid and powerful practices stem from businesses, just like Natalia Yemchenko said, because businesses are more agile, speedy, and faster in their response. And basically, there are quite an exhaustive list of different companies operational in Ukraine that are focusing on two policies. First, it's reintegrating veterans, how to ensure that they do become part of the society. And the second policy is integrating the people who will be coming back to Ukraine, because they are aware that a significant share of these Ukrainians who have left will never come back because they have very well adapted already. But nothing remains void. This void must be filled, and the most proactive representatives of African, Asian, other post-Soviet space countries, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, they're the most active people who are pretty adventurous. They will definitely be coming here. What is it that we know about African mindset, Asian, Uzbek, or Tajikistan mindset? Now we have this fantastic experience that are Ukrainians. The first thing that What they have to do when they come to a foreign country is the language course, 1 to 3 months. It's all about the culture of the country where they find themselves. And I'm very much in agreement with what Ms. Natalia has had to say. That these things are not the most pressing or urgent things, but still the preparation of the infrastructure. Once foreigners come here, where is the place of our culture and language? And if it is not due for the governments to start dealing with these issues, then unfortunately we can lose a lot. But then it's necessary for us to, it's up to us, the Ukrainians, to learn to be competitive enough so that there is no cannibalization and this void is not created here and this void is filled with an entirely different mix of nations. And the cost that we are paying for the war right now is being paid, first of all, for us to remain Ukrainians and to ensure that Ukraine is our native land. There's very much being said about the fact that one of the prerequisites to get Ukrainians back from abroad and overseas was ensuring jobs. It's a rankling issue not only for the people who are abroad and using some of the benefits abroad. This is also a pain for a lot of our small regions who are losing their population slowly but surely. And on the one hand, they would like to continue living in their villages and towns, but they critically lack jobs. They need jobs. And in particular, this is true for the east of Ukraine. There are flagship businesses, though, that are pretty optimistic in terms of their mindset and operate here in Ukraine. They have and promote very active policies of spreading their wings here in Ukraine. But once again, we have to understand that the important prerequisite for their development is not only foreign investment, but direct foreign investment, not only donor programs. And in all of the years of Ukraine's independence, unfortunately, we cannot brag much or boast much in terms of developing our local economy with foreign investments. There are lots of fears concerning the fact that we will still remain a raw material country, but becoming a place as a technological giant, having the population that we will have at the end of the war. This still is a big fear. So what can be a precondition for the country which is going through the war now? What are your assessments? Not even speaking about the military industrial complex, although you are welcome to speak about them too. And you may well say that defense may also be our branch niche in industry that can enable us to develop economically. But what can still be this prerequisite for our economy to continue developing? And what do you think the capacity and the potential of Ukraine should be like in the future? What are your thoughts? Ms. Natalia, please.
In these 30 years, we have not drew the necessary investment, but I think this is a new beginning for Ukraine. I think that the idea of Ukraine has changed in the imagination of our partners, who Ukrainians are, what Ukraine is. I think that instead of saying from the start that this is a corrupt country, will be known as the indomitable country. That to turn this into real investment, we have to have real changes that investors wanted to see through these 30 years. This is the law reform. And I think that association and joining the European Union proves to investment partners that that this is a larger market. And we see this we see this entrance to the US as positive on the investment client in lieu of the changes that happened in the world in these 2 years. We're not the same as we were 5 years ago, as 10 years ago. We are unbreakable. We are technological. We have people that want to work and they can see that in the worst conditions possible. I think we can wait for billions of we like for example the billions of dollars invested by a French millionaire into telecommunications. This was done during the war. So I see this as a psychological change in investment climate, and I see this as a reform possibility that will be conducted through entering the European Union. So basically, we will not have any other choice than to adhere to European Union standards, right? Because we have promised this plan. I hope that we will adhere to this plan. We will make these changes because we see this as a necessary step. Mr. Petro, how do you see this?
I would say that as you are determined in fighting against Russian, you have to have the same determination to proceed the reforms. And I will right now focus on one, which is very important from my point of view, because if I can compare the development of Poland in the previous 2 decades, it was based on a very strong local communities. And I think that's a very important reform that you started to proceed. I don't remember if it was 2018 or 2019, something like this. That you've started to make the local authorities reform, which gave to the people, not in the central government, but in the local communities, gave the decision-making situation. This is the most important, that your cities has to be strong, that local authorities, local communities have to be strong. And the development will start from that place for the biggest cities in the Ukraine. As they will be strong in the democratic way, I mean, then you will have the success in the development process.
Мені дуже подобається, до речі.
And I like very much as well that somebody from the local communities is a spearhead that other people look up to. For example, Mariupol is very prominent in this case, and we have a race. We have healthy competition in developing their own communities, and we see this as a necessary challenge, as a possible way to rise up for other communities and step up to that challenge. So it's not only top down, it's also down up. Ms. Elena? I'm contradicting everything today. I would like to say one of my experiences in meeting the Dolonki community. And that convinced me that investment is not the resource a community needs. Every community has potential. If they raise that potential, if they have an audit of their resources, they will find the necessary resources they already have. They made a semi-autonomous community. They have created 50 workplaces. They made a central heating plant. They drew in workers from local communities from around them. They build a water plant and they're not taking external investments. They're working with what they have. Well, they did have a pretty big plant which they rented out, which helped a bit. They had a lot of taxes that they were able to use for this. Yeah, I don't mean investments are not necessary. I mean, we have to look at ourselves, at our resources that we have foremost. Um, I was working in Western Europe, Ukrainian communities recently, and they have introduced businessmen that they said that they need they need perspective. We came in, 8 mayors, they know each other, and that's it. They sat down, they looked at each other, and I noticed that what the result of the discussion is, it depends on how you see the person across from you. If it's a partner, you talk about the issue. If you see them as competition, you're not going to get much. And what we started the competition. We started this tug of war. You never were. No, not a person was in each one of those communities, but they wanted each for themselves. They could have each won with compromises. In a day, we found 7 projects they could have done that not a single community could have had the resources by themselves to do. Jointly, they could have done them. One had the territory, one had the equipment, one had the personnel. They could have done it jointly. They did not have to make every community to you did not have to investment, you did not have to bring it up. They could have just pooled their resources. Because if they treat themselves as partners, you already have the investment, the people around you. Thank you. I see you're optimistic. I really like your energy. To Miss Natalia's case, I'd like to I'd like to remember 2022, when Academy students have visited a Holland farm. And with rockets flying over, this Holland person who's gone native in Ukraine is building more infrastructure for cows. And this gives the message that, yeah, I believe in Ukraine. I believe everything's going to go well. This gives us the opportunity. This gives us the necessity that everything's going to be okay. We're talking about schools today. If it's going to be politics, if it's going to be somebody managing, we have to have Ukrainians be integrating. We have to have Ukrainians be raising their qualifications in management, one way or the other. So we have the question of education. Seeing the results, seeing that the next generation is already going into education. And there's some concerning statistics of COVID results, of war results, how distant, how remote education has influenced it. We already see that boys are being taken out of the country. Due to these trends, how do you see the Ukrainian trend in Ukraine in education, especially higher education? What issues do you see it facing? We see a lot of demand right now for lawyers. We had a discussion right now recently with Mr. Vinitsky. Because business says give us new resources. Because we do not have enough personnel and we have to have more people. How do you see issues in Ukrainian education sector right now? Ms. Natalia, you go first. Mr. Petro, I'd like you to go next and say what are your priorities as a mayor in your community and what you see your community dealing with this issues as. Thank you. I'm not a expert in this issue. I cannot tell you how to better education in Ukraine. This is not only in Ukraine. Due to COVID, this has been an issue world over. So, Mr. Petro, you probably go first.
I'm not a specialist as well in that issue. I'm not responsible for education, but still we have some problems after the COVID and remote education, which influence, I think, all over the world. Right now in Poland, Polish education is quite connected with Ukrainian, so Ukrainian will get some of the program which is prepared by the Ministry of Education of Ukraine, which is very important because during these 2 years since the beginning of the war, we didn't we were not sure actually if we counted, but our assessments were not very accurate. We thought that only 50% of people living in the city, I mean the Ukrainian people living in the city, which should be obligatory at school, they didn't go to school. I mean both Polish or Ukrainian. So this is the huge challenge for cooperation between two governments, Polish and Ukrainian, how to make Ukrainian people, both if they want to go to the Polish school, but as well they should participate in this Ukrainian program to make the possibility to come back to your country. So right now it has happened. Our social fund, which is we call it, it's 800 zlotys per child per month for the people, is connected if they go through this system of education. You will not get this money if you don't go through this educational system. But still, I think that this will be one of the biggest challenges, both for Ukraine, for the people, how to make people coming back to Ukraine, and for Polish, if some of them decides to stay in Poland, how they will integrate with the society. So I think it's still unsolved subject to do.
Thank you very much. Pani Olena?
Miss Elena? I also have two answers. I have 25 experience. I have 25 years experience in education, and my assessment is not interesting, not useful, and not interesting, not useful. My experience come from Sweden, which was 25 years ago, we economically leading country. The Sweden education system is called Bilden. It begins from the communities, and it is twofold. Each community has adult education system. Each community has an adult education system where you can be studying from 1 to 4 months. That's one part. And the second part is not re-education, but courses supplementary to what they already have. They were looking at books, they were seeing movies. We already have this in Ukraine. In Chernigiv Oblast, Vovchok village, we already have this community, this this supplementary education program for adults. And the whole community is there with him. Sometimes people don't want to do work because education is education, but they're so amazed at the quality of the education, quality of the changes. The last thing I'd like to say is that I have a lot of partners in the Silicon Valley. They have digital workers. What do we think when we see digital workers? What a digital worker is? That looks like me. Sounds like me. It knows a lot more than I do. And it costs about $10. What do I have to do to compete for the community to allow me to compete with this digital me? What do I have to be? How do I have to be in this new world of in this new world? We thought this is going to be only manufacturing spheres. No, this is all of them. And the question is, what do I have to be better than digital me? Yeah, you recall Building. Building is not only about education only, it's about reintegration. It's integration into cultural. We have a lot of Ukrainian companies that see this still as as a model. For example, Aurora, a Ukrainian country that is right now very prominent and developing quite fast. So thank you very much. We promise that we will be able to answer questions from the audience. Just a bit of questions. So please, can you introduce yourself? Yeah, please probably have the mic. I'm Volchenko Yulia, Kramatorsk region, Donetsk region, Kramatorsk city. I agree with you that investment has to be done starting with yourself. We have to have projects that investors have to be interested in. But I'd like you to ask about investment risks and investment insurance. Is this a question for somebody of the speakers? No, it's general question to anyone who can answer. Definitely not Miss Elena. Miss Natalia, maybe? And maybe you can help us with this question. Okay. Investment risks and investment insurance. How do our international partners see this? And in bringing in investments, what is going to be that? Yeah, international partners are very interested about investment risks right now. In some countries, this is only for domestic investors. In some countries, it's for any kind of investor. In Poland, if I can see that, the city is the idea is different. Some of them have to be local.
I would put it this way. It is important at the moment, but it is most important for the Ukrainian investors because they have already made investments of their capital in the land for the new investors to come. On the one hand, it seems to be positive, but it doesn't change very much the risk profile of their investment making. So those who are buying or taking out insurances are the ones that have already made investments in Ukraine. With reference to the Ukrainian government, they have already had their first project on export credit office, and they already have provided a particular insurance for importing and exporting capital into Ukraine. But the number of this program, of course, is not enough. And the cost of this insurance doesn't suit a lot of investors because unfortunately it's way too high for the time being. But I think this insurance is not most important. Something that we mentioned before, the rule of law, accession into the EU, and the end of this war, or at least the end of hostilities, bombing and shelling. This is what is of much greater concern for the international investors. But these insurances, of course, and programs based on that are increasing in number, and they're being used, but not sufficiently. Thank you, Ms. Natalia. Thank you very much for the exhaustive answer that you have provided. Are there any other questions from the audience? Yes, take the mic, please. Could you introduce yourself, please? And who is it that you want to ask the question to? Good afternoon. I'm a representative of Kherson, the first deputy of the Military and Civilian Administration Chief. This is not so much of a question, but rather a gratitude for the things that I have heard today. First of all, I would like to thank you, Ms. Olena, for everything that you have said. You said if we are strong, then we will be helped. Kherson has proven it to the whole world, I suppose, that it is unbreakable, it's strong enough, which is why we are enjoying such a great deal of support from our international partners today. At the deoccupation stage, when we came to liberated Kherson, were in bare feet because everything had been taken out of the city. Everything that could be taken to the left bank had been. We had nothing to work with. When we started to get up onto our feet, then the Kakhovka Dam was destroyed, and then the whole of Ukraine came to our rescue. And I would like to thank every community participating in helping our Kherson territorial community. So we withstood this terrible disaster. And now we are standing with good prospects of both recovery and reconstruction because people want to live already here and now within this community. As of the beginning of this year, our population was 80,000 strong because a lot of people have already left. Now the community is 100,000. So you can see that the people are coming back. Yeah, they're coming back because they want to get back home because there is accommodation provided to them. We still try to give jobs to them. At first, we thought, well, if this is a maternity ward, do we need it or do we not? But new children are arriving in this world. Every week, new babies are born. And it's so good that a lot of girls are being born, not boys. We have boys too. But they say if girls are being born, it means the end of the war is coming soon. And that's something that we do believe in. And our way that we are pursuing right now is building an underground hospital, first of all, to ensure the security for both our medical personnel and patients. If we go underground right now, we understand what will be done to other stories of this building when peaceful time comes. So now we understand what kind of wards will be open, surgery theaters, diagnostic rooms, etc. So now I would like to thank our international partners who are supporting us. And I want to thank all of the Ukrainians for being so strong and unified in our common goal. And this goal is achieving victory. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for these warm words. My task as a moderator is to wrap up our panels and to value the time of each and everyone here because I know how busy you are. We have to wrap it up. And I only have one request to make of all of our panelists and presentees here. Maybe you would like to extend some regards on behalf of the representatives of the communities, maybe something to wish to our panelists, something that can set you on fire, infuse you, and inspire you, keep going, no matter what. Just like we have heard it from the Kherson representative and from business representatives. So we would like to hear some nice regards on your behalf to wrap up this panel. Ms. Natalia, traditionally the floor goes to you. We'll be very much appreciative if you can do it. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for your great deal of attention, for these interesting interactions that we have been engaged in. I can say one thing, we have to support our armed forces and be part of this warfare every day. Don't leave it for someone else to do. It's our struggle, it's our warfare, and this is the war for our existence. Everything that can be done to support the armed forces of Ukraine and to achieve victory is our responsibility. Thanks a lot. Mr. Petrov?
So maybe I will add to what Ms. Natalie said, that we have to support also the second front line, which are the cities, which will prepare the good conditions for the societies. So this is also a big effort also for the Polish cities to support Ukrainian cities in preparing the conditions for the people to live and come back to their hometowns. So we are really, really inspired of you. Ukrainian communities. I was since the beginning. There were 3 times in Ukraine, and for me, all the time, this is a huge inspiration. How you lead your communities, and how you build the strong spirit of your patriotism. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much, Ukraine.
Дякую, пане Петро, дякую. Пані Олена.
Thank you, Mr. Petro. Now, Ms. Olena, please. Whatever happens around us, we still keep going. We keep making steps, sometimes smaller steps, sometimes bigger leaps, but we still keep going one step at a time. So let's keep moving, because if it's not us, then who? Glory to Ukraine. Thank you, Ms. Olena. And I can't but ask for some comments of the kind and give the mic to Mr. Vadim. Yes, thank you very much for the mic. I would like to once again extend my gratitude to our international partners who are both supporting and inspiring us with their changes. Mr. Petro has mentioned Poland that has changed since the beginning of this full-scale invasion, but we must also understand what kind of Poland was building when it was in preparation for the transformations and changes to come. When we were in communications with our partners and peers, they said very frankly, we were looking at the whole world, the Western world, were gazing at Poland, but most importantly still, we were building our Poland. Same goes for us when we speak about the reconstruction, revival, of every community. We have to look at the example of Poland or any other examples, but still be mindful of building Ukraine. Because it's true, indeed, we are strong, free people of this free world. Today, we have to understand that ahead of us lie a lot of things that we will have to do. First, it's to achieve our common victory, liberate Ukraine from this horrible enemy that has started to invade our land. Understanding that once we enter Europe, a lot will come to Ukraine. We have to get ready for investments for the European law, and we need to be prepared within Ukraine in an expert way with all of the necessary amendments and adaptations that we will have to present. No matter what they say, the number of Patriot systems, F-16 and their numbers, NATO accessions is the response to and answer to the question about Ukraine's security, so that our neighbor will never even look in the direction of Ukraine with aggressive ideas. And I think this will set a very good example for others, and many investments will come to Ukraine. So we need to understand, and I'm sure that Ukraine will become a role model for the European and globally for the whole world. Why? Why am I sure of that? Because just like we have heard it today, one of the most industrious, hardworking nations in the world, we can work, we know how to do it, and we crave to work. And just like we have heard it today from our featured speakers, from the people who come from the ministerial offices, we wanted to hear from them what kind of Ukraine we are building. What kind of Ukraine would we like young people to get back to for the sake of what country? And this is the country, and I'm sure that the School of Reconstruction will definitely shape this image of Ukraine bottom up. And the country of Ukraine will have to become this role model. I would put it this way, it's the country of opportunities. And these opportunities should come from every community and it become reality there. And these opportunities in education, medical science, whatever the area may be, people need to generate it from within them, their communities, because the people, as they will be coming back, they will have to integrate into these changes. These changes have to sprout from within local places so that young people become an integral part of these changes. So this is our paternal responsibility. First, we need to learn it ourselves and then teach our children to take care of our mother Ukraine, inspired with the changes, which I'm sure, together with the help of the School of Reconstruction, having shaped all of these portraits and visions of our communities, will contribute to making this Ukraine a vivid land of new opportunity for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. So glory to Ukraine, glory to its heroes. Thank you very much, our dear speakers and Mr. Vadim. So this brings our panel discussion to a close, and I'm giving the mic to the MC. Well, they're indicating to me, giving me a sign that everything was being recorded, and we had a technical frustration. And that's why we'll have to start it all over again. Etta boys and Etta girls, give a big round of applause to our partners, to our guests. We thank our lady moderator, and we're so happy. We have been happy to hear from the representatives of communities. And now is the time for networking. It's the time to take snapshots, take selfies, hug each other. Thank you very much for being with us today. So see you next time.